do something a little bit different today. I'm going to read you a story. It is called The Christmas Apple, and it's based on the story by Ruth Sawyer. So give it a listen. It's a little long, but I think you'll really like the message. Once upon a time in Germany, there lived a little clockmaker named Hermann Joseph. He lived in one little room furnished with a bench for his work and his tools, a chest for his wood, a cupboard for his dishes, and a trundle bed that slid under his workbench. Other than that, there was only a stool, except for clocks, that is. There were hundreds and hundreds of clocks. There were big clocks and little clocks, and clocks with wood faces and clocks with porcelain faces. There were shelf clocks and grandfather clocks and cuckoo clocks and clocks with chimes and clocks even without chimes. Everywhere you looked around Hermann Joseph's shop, there were clocks. And there was a little window in front of his shop with a shelf on it, and there Hermann would put up his best clocks so everyone passing by could take a look at them. And anyone in the city who needed a clock always came to Hermann Joseph because he was the best clockmaker in town. Now I said Hermann was a little clockmaker, and that's because he was little, because his back was bent over and his legs were crooked and bowed, and that made him very short and kind of funny to look at. But there was no kinder face in the whole city. The children loved Hermann. Whenever the toy was broken that they had, whether a doll lost its arm or an eye or a leg, the children would bring it to Hermann, and he would stop what he was doing, and he would fix the children's toys for free. Now there was a custom in those days for those who lived in the city to bring gifts to the great cathedral on Christmas Eve and lay them before the statue of Mary and baby Jesus. In fact, people saved up their money all year long so they could buy these wonderful gifts and place them at the foot of the statue. And there was a legend. Legend had it that when a gift was brought that pleased the baby Jesus more than any other gifts that were brought, baby Jesus would come alive and he'd reach down and he'd take your gift from your hand. Oh, of course, that was only a legend. Old Mr. Gruff, the oldest man in the city, could not remember that it had ever happened. Most people laughed at the idea, but still, the children talked about it. Still, poets wrote verses about it. And sometimes, when a very rich gift was brought to the statue, the people would whisper, "Maybe now we'll see the miracle. Maybe baby Jesus will reach out and take the gift." But it never happened. Everyone went to the cathedral on Christmas Eve, even those who had no gift to offer the Holy Child. They, of course, went to see the gifts that the others brought, as well to sing Christmas carols and watch the candles burning. And the little clockmaker, Hermann Joseph, was one of those people. He never brought a gift, even though sometimes people would stop and ask him why he didn't have a gift to give. Even the bishop said to him once, "Poorer people than you bring gifts, Hermann Joseph. Where is your gift?" And Hermann answered, "You wait, your excellency. Someday you will see it. I too will bring a gift to the Holy Child." Actually, that was the truth, that the little clockmaker was so busy giving away what he had to others in need, by the end of the year, he had nothing really left to offer. But he did have a great idea, which he spent all of his spare time working on. No one knew about this great idea except for Trude, which was the neighbor's daughter. He had started the gift when Trude was just a baby, and now she was almost grown up, and the gift still wasn't finished. Hermann Joseph's gift for the baby Jesus was, of course, a clock. But no ordinary clock. This was going to be a beautiful clock, the best the world has ever seen. Hermann had worked on every piece for years, giving it all the love and attention that he could. Every piece was perfect. Well, this Christmas, Hermann realized that with just a little bit of extra work, he could get his gift finished by Christmas Eve. So he stopped all his other work. Oh, of course, he still fixed the children's toys when they came. If they were broken, he would still fix them. But other than that, he worked on a special gift for baby Jesus. The only problem with that is now he had less clocks to sell, and his cupboards were pretty bare. In fact, many nights he went to bed with no supper at all. But still, Hermann was happy because his gift clock was getting more and more beautiful every day. He made it look like a stable with rafters, a stall, and a manger. Baby Jesus lay in that manger with his mother Mary kneeling over him. And whenever the hour struck, through the doors on either side, visitors would come. Oh, there were wise men that would come, and 3 shepherds, 3 soldiers, and 3 angels. And every hour when it struck, the little figures would knelt down in adoration at the sleeping baby while the silver chimes played. You see, said the clockmaker to Trude, it's not just on Sundays and holidays that we should remember to worship Jesus, but bring him gifts every hour of every day. Well, the day finally came when Herman finished the clock, and he was so proud that he put it on the shelf in his front window. And everybody from all over town would come and see this masterpiece. And they wondered, would this be the offering that Herman Joseph gave to the baby Jesus? Finally, it was the day before Christmas, and Herman made sure that his clock worked perfectly. Then he headed to his little shop, and he brushed off his clothes. And when the blind beggar came and knocked on his door, Herman wished him a Merry Christmas and gave him all he had except for one last penny. The last penny he would spend on a big, juicy Christmas apple that he would eat with a slice of bread the next day for Christmas. But as he was putting the apple back into the cupboard, Trude came in the door crying. What's the matter? He asked her. She said, it's Father. He's been hurt. He's been hurt, and all the money that we saved for the Christmas tree and all the presents had to go to pay for the doctor and the hospital bill. The children were so excited about Christmas this year. What are we going to do? Herman smiled. Don't worry, Trude. I will sell a clock for you. Someone must need a clock. And then we'll have plenty of money for a tree and gifts. So go home, sing, and have fun with the kids, and I'll be along soon. Well, Herman picked out his best clock and went all over the city trying to sell it. But no one seemed to need a clock. He even shouted from the street corner, clock for sale, clock for sale. But no one came. Finally, he gave in and got up enough courage to go see mean old Mr. Graff himself. And Mr. Graff said, yes, I do need a clock, but not the one you have brought. He said, I will only buy the Christmas clock in your window, and I will pay you $1,000 for it. Herman yelled, that's impossible. You can't buy that clock. And old Mr. Gruff shouted back at him, nothing's impossible. Do you want to make those kids happy or not? Now go home and get that Christmas clock ready for me, and I'll send someone over in about an hour to pick it up. Well, poor Herman cried all the way home. But then as he passed Trude's house, he heard the children singing, and they were happy, and they were playing, and it made him feel good that he could help. And sure enough, an hour later, one of Mr. Graff's servants came by to pick up the special clock, the gift clock. But Herman would not take $1,000 for it. No, he would only take $100, to which he immediately gave to Trude, and then he quietly trudged back to his shop. As he opened his door, the bells began to ring at the great cathedral, and suddenly the streets were filled with people running every which way, holding tight to their gifts to present to the baby Jesus. Well, I've gone empty-handed before, Herman said. I guess I can go empty-handed again. At least the children will be happy. And as he pulled on his coat and turned to leave, he noticed his Christmas apple in his cupboard, and he picked it up, and with a little smile on his lips, he said, this is all I have, my dinner for 2 days. I will carry that and give this to the baby Jesus. While the great cathedral was so peaceful and beautiful as Herman entered it, there were thousands of candles burning and the smell of Christmas greens. The altar was full of gifts all around the statue of baby Jesus and his mother Mary. The gifts looked richer and more precious than in years past. There was gold and silk and silver and paintings, and even the king himself brought his own scepter and crown and laid it at the foot of the statue. After seeing all these precious gifts, the little clockmaker walked slowly down the dimly lit aisle, holding on to his Christmas apple. When the people saw him, he could hear them whisper, shame on Herman Joseph. He has so many clocks, and he's too cheap to even bring one of them to the baby Jesus. Shame on Herman Joseph. But Herman stumbled on with his head hung low and his hands gripped around the Christmas apple. It seemed like forever before he reached the stairs to the altar, but he finally made it. There were 7 stairs to climb, and he wondered if he could make it. 1, 2, 3, and then he stumbled and almost fell, but he kept going. 4, 5, 6. He was almost there, and suddenly the whispering died away. And in its place rose a murmur of wonder and awe. All over the cathedral, people began shouting, it's a miracle! It's a miracle! And And one by one, the people knelt down, and the bishop raised his hands. And the little clockmaker, stumbling to the last step, looked up, and through tear-filled eyes, he saw the baby Jesus leaning toward him to take Herman Joseph's Christmas apple from his hand. I love this story. Don't you love this story? It's such a wonderful story. It reminds us all about the message of good news that we have to tell the world. That's what Isaiah said. He said, "How beautiful on the mountains are the feet of those who bring good news, who proclaim peace, who bring good tidings, who proclaim salvation, who say to Zion, your God reigns." Just like Herman Joseph, what do you have this year to bring to Jesus? What do you have to lay at the altar of Jesus Christ? Is it simply a Christmas apple? Is it just your dinner for the day? Or could it be some other gifts that you have to offer to the baby Jesus? Maybe you are filled with awe this year. Maybe Christmas just seems really new and giddy to you. Maybe you have a new baby in the house, or a new great-grandchild or granddaughter or grandson, and you're just filled with wonder again because they're filled with wonder. So bring this gift and put it at the altar of Jesus. Maybe Christmas hasn't been so good for you this year, and you have grief to bring to the altar of Jesus. Bring it to Jesus and give it to him and let go of it. Place your grief, the loss of a loved one that hurt your heart, and give it to Jesus at his altar. Maybe you're full of joy. Maybe you got to see family that you didn't think you were going to be able to see. Maybe you have a really good job and things are going your way and you have joy to bring to Jesus. That's the gift you have to bring to Jesus. Then bring it to his altar. Maybe you're mad at God. God didn't answer your prayer the way you wanted. God said no. Or maybe God said wait. And you're tired of waiting. You've been praying for years for this to happen and it still hasn't happened. And you're mad at God, asking why this happened. Bring your anger to the Christ child. If that's all you have to bring this Christmas, then you bring it and you place it on the altar. Maybe you have doubt. Maybe this Christmas, all these Christmas stories just seem like fairy tales to you. Maybe your friends love Jesus, but you're not so sure. Bring your doubt to the Christ child and lay it at his altar. Finally, maybe you have the gift of pain. Maybe you have physical pain and you don't understand why your body is acting the way it is. Maybe you have emotional pain. Bring it to the altar of Jesus Christ. Because when you lay these gifts at the altar, just like Herman Joseph laid his little apple and gave it to the baby Jesus, Jesus will open these gifts. Jesus doesn't just have your pain and your grief and go, wow, that's pretty sad. He opens it. And do you know what he does? He replaces that grief with peace and comfort and assurance, knowing that you will see your loved one again. That's what he places in your heart. And when you have doubt, put it at the altar. Give that gift to Jesus and he will open it up and he will give you faith, because he is faithful when we are faithless. And maybe you have anger. You are so mad at God because something happened to one of your family members and took them too early. Then you tell God you're angry. And you know what God will do? He'll open that gift and he'll fill your heart with love and peace. What do you have to bring to the altar of Christ? Herman Joseph had nothing but a little apple. Don't clean yourself up. Bring your gift to the Christ child and let him open it and fill your heart with love.